Yo, RX back with another retrospective, I guess. Now it's gonna take a while to get used to saying after the intro. This time it is a retrospective of not Contender Series. I could not talk about Contender Series for once. This time we are talking about TuF, the Ultimate Fighter. Don't run away yet, I swear this could not be terrible. And just like we did with last year's TuF, or Contender Series, last week, we talked about that. I thought, why not let's talk about TuF from last year when it was season 32, Grasso and Shevchenko. Now, before you ask, why would you dare talk about that again after having to watch it, which was bad enough? To be honest, I don't know. But it sounded like a good idea. I had a few others, and I will do over time, but I don't know. This idea popped into mind. I was like, yeah, we can do this. I think it could be interesting. It goes with the theme of 1 year later, and we could look at how all of this has aged a year later. Because I think, 4 of these guys are in the UFC? 5, maybe? And then we can see how some of these guys are doing a year after who didn't win and all that. So, yeah, I don't know. Same thing as Contender Series last week or something. Look at everything and see what's going on a year later for these fighters and all that. So, I don't know. Sounds like a fun idea. Doubt many people care about this, but I want to do it. Sound fun. I'll do more of these retrospectives. I'll do another one next week. I already kind of know what I'm going to do. I'll talk about that later. And, yeah, y'all wanted more retrospectives. I put out the community post, and y'all said, do it. I'll do it. So here's another one. So, not quite as far back of a retrospective as I was thinking to go. I was thinking I was going to go a little bit back in time. But, I don't mind going a year ago. So, a little bit easier and, pretty easy. So, good foot to start on. Next week we'll do something a little bit farther back in time. And, yeah, hopefully y'all enjoy this as much as you can, since it is the Ultimate Fighter, which is not good until we talk about the older Ultimate Fighter seasons, which we will. And, yeah, let's look at last season's TuF Ultimate Fighter season 32, 1 year later. So, yeah, I think that sounds like a fun idea. I can't think of anything really else to say here. Hopefully y'all enjoy this idea. I think it's gonna be fun to do. And, let's do it, shall we? So, yeah, I don't think there's very much else left to say in this intro outside the normal YouTube bullshit of please like, comment, and subscribe. 200 subs is the goal by the end of 2025. And unless I begin to say something now, which I really don't think I am, talked about what we're doing here, did YouTube bullshit, I think we can get into this bitch. It's weird to not be looking at a poster and like a breakdown or recap, but I'm excited to do this. Hope y'all enjoy it. Another retrospective from looking at something that happened last year. Let's do it. Not very much else to say. So I guess you ready? I know I am. Let's do another retrospective. This time of the Ultimate Fighter season 32, 1 year later. So yeah, let's do it. To tell you how I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be kind of like how I did the TuF 33 recap a few months ago. I'm going to go down the list of the draft picks, talk about every fighter, and then unlike the 33 recap, because the fights are actually up on Tapology now, unlike when I did that, we'll look at each fight, talk about them, look at the finale, and that'll be that. So let's do it. We began, obviously the coaches were Grasso and Shevchenko, not the best coaches in the world in terms of entertainment. Grasso was a pretty good coach, Valentina, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. So let's get into the draft picks, beginning with the number 1 pick in the draft. By Alexa Grasso at featherweight. We had the featherweights and middleweights on this season, like every season it feels like. We had the first draft pick of the season, Guillermo Memo Torres. I wonder if Alexa was being a little bit biased to her, I believe, teammate in this draft selection. Torres 7-2, 39 years old, so you're 38, Jesus Christ. Obviously, not much to say here. You really only got on here because he's Mexican, I believe, trains with Alexa Grasso. Went 0-2 on the show. I'll explain why he got a second fight later. Didn't look good in either of them. And I guess in a year since, he had one more fight in Fury FC, taking a loss to, I feel like I recognize that name. Yeah, this dude was on, was this dude on Contender Series? Yeah, he was. He was the idiot that lost to Musasa, so great. Yeah, not much to say here. Terrible first round pick by Alexa, completely biased to her Mexican counterpart or teammate, whichever one, and the only reason he was on this season is because he's Mexican, so yeah, terrible fighter to put on this season. Looked shit in both his fights. What can I really say? He got very lucky Alexa was coaching the season, or he would have never sniffed the UFC, because he's not good at all. One of the worst first round number 1 picks ever. DC tried to do a worst one this year. I still debatable if he did. And then for Valentina's first round pick at featherweight, funny enough, the person who beat Torres in the first round, first pick at featherweight for Valentina, relentless Rody Rhodes, I think that's how you say it, 8-2 from South Africa. 28 years old. He did make it to the second round of the season, and then got finished in pretty bad fashion. We'll talk about that fight more in a little bit. Looks like since then he's won 1-1 on regional scene against nobodies. So, you retired after round 1. What a fucking joke. Yeah, this dude's not good at all. I know I'm gonna sound very negative when I say that about pretty much everyone here, but yet their scouting for this season was piss poor in my opinion. I think a big reason was this the season they were promoting the most fucking international season ever. Maybe that was this year. Either way, they're trying to be more international, and it just leads to shitty fighters getting on the season. And I think this year's TuF had some good fighters. This last year's did not. The season we're talking about right now, most of the fighters were shit, and it might be one of the lowest level TuFs of all time, so great. But yeah, for Rody, another terrible first round pick for now Valentina, so still better than Alexa's pick. Obviously he beat Alexa's pick, but still a god-awful pick here. This guy was shit. And, yeah, not really much to say. Like most fighters on the season, just a very garbage fighter. And, yeah, for the first 2 picks of the draft, the first 2 featherweights, fucking pathetic is all I can say. Then we had our first middleweight picked by Alexa, and someone we know very well, and someone we'll be talking about this week, in fact. The first middleweight picked by Alexa Grasso, Robzilla Robert Valentine, someone we know very well, and someone we'll be talking about this week on the card. 10-6 from Switzerland, 30 years old, 0-3 in the UFC at the moment. I'm not going to say a lot here because we're going to talk about Robert later in the week when we talk about his fight this week. How is he still in the UFC? I don't know. But he did go 2-0 on the show with probably the 2 best fights of the season, fuck. 2 good finishes, got to the finale, and then just got his dick stomped in by Ryan Loder. And then since then he's had 2 fights after the fact, and it was the one of the worst fight of 2025 against Taurus Finney, and then getting annihilated by Adila Gutierrez, and now he fights Jackson McVeigh this week to see if he can keep his job. So, great first finalist of the season, a dollar store Yuri Prohajka. The only good thing to come out of Robert Valentin in the last year is we got Danilo Donchenko out of it. Danilo got on the show this year, and he's actually really good. Valentin's garbage. Maybe he can get his first UFC win this week. It wouldn't mean much because it's against a fellow tomato can. I'll talk more about him later in the week. But yeah, for our first of 4 finalists and our first middleweight, another terrible fighter. He's just Yuri from Wish. Oh god, what an awful season. After that, we get to Valentina's first middleweight picked, and it was one who could have actually been interesting, but then got exposed for being terrible pretty quickly. A guy who I think probably had a lot of hype coming into the season, and might have been the favorite to win the middleweights, but again, that got shut down immediately when we actually saw him fight. Valentina's first middleweight picked, Shamidkan Magomedov. 10-1 from Russia, 31 years old, and yeah, this guy got fucking exposed immediately. In his first fight, he fought a tomato can, got completely exposed for being terrible, and lost. I'm trying to remember, I swear there was someone on this season's TuF who was kind of the same way. They had a lot of hype and then got exposed for being terrible, but the name's not coming to mind right now. But, yeah, this dude, you see the long name, you see he's Russian, Magomedov. He hit 31, which is not great, but whatever. But then you see him fight another, a guy who looked like a layup, and we'll talk about, Omron in a little bit. Yeah, this fucking Magomedov dude's terrible. I don't know really what to say. He clearly has a very padded record, and, yeah, maybe a guy who, again, probably had maybe the favorite to win the season, gets put out in the first fight by a tomato can and gets completely exposed. So great. But it looks like since he is building a nice record, going 2-0 in LFA, it looks like he was a champ there, but now he's fighting UAE Warriors next week, I believe. So we'll see how he does there. I wouldn't be shocked if the UFC gives him another call. Russian and all that. He's gonna win this fight against 7-1 36-year-old. So I wouldn't be shocked if we maybe see him on Contender Series next year. So we'll see. On TuF, this guy was awful and got exposed. Fancy long name, Magomedov. Carried him onto the show, but couldn't carry him to any talent. And as of right now, yeah, shit fighter. I won't be shocked if he's on Contender Series next year. Maybe he's gotten better. Couldn't got worse. The best fighter we've talked about so far, that says a lot, but low bar. And for the first 2 middleweights, not very good. Then we head back to the featherweights for round 3 of picks, and we begin with another finalist from Team Grasso, and another terrible one at that, but the first fighter to actually win a fight in the UFC here. Alexa's first pick of round 3, and the first halfway competent fighter selected, Khan. Awfully, Genghis Khan, awfully, 12-4-1 from Turkey. 32 years old. We talked about him not that long ago, about a month ago, and then he just fought back in Brazil, I believe, against Ricardo Ramos. To get to the UFC, he had to go 2-0 on the show, which he did against Nason and Rody Rhodes. We are talking about one of those, and we'll talk about the other later. So he got to the finale, got starched out by Myron Santos, and then after that, from 1-1, losing to Muhammad Naimov, and then somehow beating Ricardo Ramos. And yeah, now he's coming off a win in the UFC. I still think he's a god-awful fighter, and I think the second he fights anyone good, he'll get fucking annihilated again. But I guess Ricardo Ramos is fucking garbage, and Khan was able to beat him, so Yeah, not really much else to say there. Good for Khan, most successful fighter so far we've talked about, which is not saying a lot, and yeah, I still think he's terrible. I talked about him plenty a couple weeks ago. First one to actually get a win, and I think one of the only, 3 fighters, I think 4, to get a win from this season in UFC. Yeah, I don't know, good for him. I still think he's awful and he's gonna get smashed by whoever he fights. But dude, able to beat Hikaru almost made it to the finale. First competent fighter we've talked about here. You know it's a low bar when Khan awfully actually seems pretty decent. After that, we go to Valentina's third pick, and her second featherweight selected another name we saw in UFC for one fight until he got completely annihilated and cut. As we had for Valentina's third pick selected and second featherweight, Vigamontis Ramaska. 10-3 from Lithuania, 28 years old, gonna be 29 in December. Yeah, we've seen this guy before. He did actually have a fight in the UFC because on TuF he did win his first round matchup, and then he was meant to fight in the second round, but he got injured and couldn't, so they gave him a fair shake, gave him a UFC fight, and he got demolished and got cut right after the fact, so that's great. Yeah, this guy's awful. Another terrible fighter. He looks like he has got a win since he did go to the regional scene. Actually, a couple weeks ago, he got a win against some nobody in Brave, so good for him there. But yeah, he's not good at all. I don't really know. From what I've seen on TuF, he looked alright, but against not a great opponent. And then against Nathan Fletcher, of all people, he looked fucking awful. So yeah, Lithuanians are not known for being that good in the UFC. Julius Stoyarenko, anybody. And yeah, Diamantis fits that fucking criteria perfectly of being terrible. He had his one shot. He lost to a fighter who was also god-awful. And I'm happy they gave him a fair shake because the injury did fuck him over a bit. But yeah, he's terrible. What else can I really say? Sorry, Lithuania, maybe we'll get a good fighter one day. But Zigamontis was far from that. Then we began round 4 with Alexa's second middleweight drafted, someone we just talked about about a month or two ago on Contender Series, funny enough. The first pick of the 4th round, the second middleweight for Team Grasso, Paddy McCrory. 7-1 from Ireland, 27 years old, gonna be 28 on the 9th, good for him. Well, he was the typical we need an Irishman this season. We saw it this year with that, what's it, Binder or something? Maybe I'm getting that wrong. I forget what his name was. But that Irish dude who, was on this season. They got to get an Irish guy for some fucking reason. And Paddy was that this season. He actually looked really good in his first fight on the show, getting the win, but then he did lose to Robert Valentin in the semifinals. Gave him out fine, it happens. At that time, it looked okay. I think that was the fight I was most hyped for in the semifinals. And fine, we gave you a break. He went on the regional team, beat up to Tomato Cans and Cage Warriors, and then he got on Contender Series a year and a half later. By that point, Valentin was already terrible. So McCrory was not looked at fondly. He goes on Contender Series, wins one of the worst fights of the season, doesn't get signed, and that's that. Like I said when I talked about his fight a couple months ago, I do think we will see McCrory again, either A, on Contender Series, or B, getting a short notice call to the UFC. These Irish middleweights are needed always. I think he'll be either on Contender Series again or in the UFC on a short notice call sooner than later. So I would not be shocked at all. And when he does get that call, he'll be easily picked against because he's fucking terrible. Yeah, he's not good at all. He's just another shitty Irish fighter who gets these opportunities because he's Irish and Conor McGregor, I guess, yeah. Do I think he's better or worse for the guy we had on Contender Series this year? I'd probably say better. Or on the Ultimate Fighter this year, I'd probably say better, but that's a low bar, and at least McCory could make weight, so I don't know. Both are shit. Yeah, every season has to have an Irish guy now. So you pray one of them can be good. They're not. And yeah, Pat McCory, I do think we'll get a UFC shot or Contender Series shot on short nose in the future. But right now he's just not very good. When he does get that shot, he will get annihilated, and yeah, he's just not very good. Not very much else to say. The best middleweight so far, I would probably say, but that's not saying a lot. He's awful, and there you go. Then we had Valentina's 4th pick, and second middleweight selected the guy McCory actually beat in his round 1 matchup. The 4th pick of Team Shevchenko, Mark Hummel, I believe. I think it would be Hummel. 13-4 from South Africa. This is when Drakus was champ and not looked at as a joke, so they were really trying to find more South Africans. Didn't work. 31 years old. Just had his birthday about 2 weeks ago. Good for him. Obviously, we just talked about who beat him. McCory beat him in round 1 pretty easily. Mark did not look very good. Not really shocking. Was he bad? Who was the other South African guy? Rudy Rhodes. I think Rudy was probably a little bit better, but that's a low bar. And yeah, Mark got beat in round 1. Since he went 1-1 on the regional scene in Octagon. Actually beat Andreas Michelitis, a former UFC fighter. That's actually fucking hilarious. And then lost his last fight by knockout back in August. So yeah, this guy sucks. I know I say that with every guy, but it's the truth. Yeah, again, this is when they were trying to hype up South Africa because Drakus and all that, but it just hasn't worked. Both guys they had on the season TuF suck. Mark was worse than fucking Rudy Rhodes, and yeah, not very good. What else can I really say? Simple. Next, not gonna waste a lot of time there. Then we had to start around 5 with Alexa's 5th pick to begin the 5th round with her 3rd featherweight selected. Where is this motherfucker? There he is. With her 5th pick and 3rd featherweight selected, Alexa Grasso picked for her team Bekazad Usmanov, 11-5 from Tajikistan, 30 years old. He was a guy who lost to Diamantis. In a great fight. I'll give Bekazad that. This was an amazing fight. He showed a lot of toughness. Great. Respect him there. He's a tough guy. He can have fun fights. Is he any good? No. Again, he lost to Diamantis Rumatska. Enough said there. And yeah, he was kind of just a punching bag for most of that fight and took the L. After the fact, he's went 0-1 in MMA and 1-0 in BKFC since the fact. In MMA, he lost to Justin Wetzel in LFA. Didn't this guy just win the PFL title? So I guess that's not a bad loss, but still a loss. And then he went to BKFC and got a win. So that seems like the sport for him more than MMA, truly. And that was back in February, so he has a 2-3 BKFC record. He fought Jimmy Rivera, damn. So maybe BKFC is for him. Good luck to him there. MMA doesn't look to be the greatest at. And yeah, not much bad I can say about this guy. Is he great? No, he's tough, and maybe he's a really good bare knuckle fighter. But yeah, not really much else to say. He lost to Ramoska, pretty small for featherweight as well, 5'7". Seems a little bit tiny, or maybe Thermontis is just really tall. And yeah, Usmanov, not great, not terrible, not the worst guy we've talked about so far at all. But, yeah, maybe just bare knuckle is more his sport, because MMA does not seem to be it. Good luck to him in the boxing world. Because, yeah, covering making MMA not the worst fighter we've talked about by any means. Tough son of a bitch. Had one, probably maybe one of the best fights of the season. There you go. Then we had with Valentina's fifth pick for her team. Someone, maybe one of the bigger names to come out of this season, for better or worse. We had for Valentina's third featherweight selected and fifth pick overall for Team Shevchenko, Nathan Fletcher, someone we'd probably know very well if you watch shitty Apex cards. 9-3 from England, 27 years old. He lost his first fight on the show to Khan, and then after that he did get signed to fight Diamantis, won that fight, which got him 2 more UFC fights against Callum Longring and Rinya Nakamura, which he lost, and now he's been cut. Yeah, I've talked about Fletcher plenty of times, especially for that Rinya Nakamura fight. He's fucking terrible. He's only got on the show or any spotlight at all because he, I think, trains with Paddy Pimblett and all that. And yeah, this guy's not good at all. He's fucking terrible. Even if you think he beat Callum Longring, that guy's garbage. When he fought a legit fighter like Rinya, he got finished in fucking about barely a minute. So yeah, this dude's awful. I don't know what to say. I've talked about him plenty. I think this dude's a joke. I don't know, like, oh, actually, I do know. British Paddy. Like, that's why he got spotlight, but dude's not good at all. And, yeah, he had a little bit of a run. Got cut. He sucks. Good riddance. I never thought this guy was any bit good. And, yeah, I'm happy I get to call Nathan Fletcher garbage one more time, because the last time I'll ever get to talk about him in any form or fashion. Sad. Yeah, he's garbage. After that, we head to round 6, as we get back to the middleweights for the third round of middleweights selected, beginning with someone we talked about earlier for beating Magomedov, Amran Shaban. Omaran Shaban, I think, one way or another. 9-1 from Finland. No age listed. That's always great. So he won his first round matchup against Magomedov. Looked fine, got a nice upset win, but then got grapple fucked by Ryan Loder and lost in the semifinals. But since, I'll give him this, he has done pretty good, going 3-0 in mainly UAE Warriors, one fight in whatever the fuck Cage 65 is. And yeah, 3-0 since. I don't remember him looking that great on the show, but maybe he's better than I remember, or maybe he's gotten better. Yeah, not a whole lot else to say. I don't, again, depending on what his age is, which I'm guessing is probably like in his late 20s, maybe the UFC will give him another shot. Yeah, 3-0 since. They would love to have a Finland fighter, because I don't even think they have one. They have not had one in a while, and, yeah, so maybe Omran will be, I don't know. I don't remember much good or bad about him. I remember he fraud-checked Magomedov, like I said. I remember that fight very much, actually. And then again, lost to Loder, which, understandable. Loder just cuddles everyone. And, yeah, not really a whole lot else to say there. Not very memorable, to be honest. So, for better or worse, I guess that's for you to decide. Then we had Speak as a Devil with Valentina's 6th pick and 3rd middleweight selected. We have the first of the 2 season winners, beginning with the middleweight winner, Ryan Loder, 7-2 from the US of A, 34 years old. 1-1 in the UFC. He obviously made it to the finale of the show, getting 2 wins. One against Omran, one against some dude named Tom we'll talk about in a little bit. I think I remember who that is, but I'm gonna have to look and remember, to be honest. And then he won the finale against Valentine. I can't say much good about Ryan Loader. I think I said it a year ago when he was coming off the show. He's just Chris Weidman. Like, literally to a T, he's just Chris Weidman. He can't strike at all. He's a fine wrestler, has no chin. Yeah, he's pretty much just Chris Weidman, and that was proven to be extremely true against Azamat Bakoyev, who ran through him like paper back in May. And now Loader is booked to head to Qatar in a couple weeks to fight Ismail Nurdayev in November. We'll see if he can win that fight. I think that's a 50-50 fight. Fuck if I know who's gonna take that one. So I'll see if he can get the win there. He obviously did win this season. For better or worse, that's for you to decide. I'd say for worse because he's terrible, but outside of what middleweight isn't, yeah, I think he's gonna be one of the most forgettable TuF winners of all time. He'll probably be off the UFC roster in like the next 3 or 4 years, since he's already 34 and not good. Yeah, there's not really much else to say. Again, already one of the most forgettable TuF winners of all time, and he's still fighting in the UFC, so what does that tell you? He's just not very good, and yeah, he's just Chris Weidman from Wish. Sweet. Boring, the boring fighter of the season like Rodrigo was this year. Sadly, he did not get beat up like Rodrigo in the finale, but you know, he got beat up by Bakoyev, which was just as good, so is what it is. And yeah, that was your first winner, one of the most forgettable ones in TuF history. Speaking of winners, then we go to the featherweight winner to kick off the 7th round, and the final featherweight pick for Team Grasso, the other seasonal winner, and I guess what people would call the best fighter of the season, even though I have different takes on that. And we had to start off round 7, the last featherweight picked for Team Grasso, and that won it all. Myron Santos, 16-1 from Brazil, 25 years old, 3-0 in the UFC, 2-1 in the UFC, if we're being honest. He obviously won both his fights on the show to get to finale against Torres and Cooper, who we'll talk about in a minute. Looked fine in both, didn't really knock anyone's socks off with those performances, but then he did KO Conolfley in the finale, even though he probably did miss weight because he did cheat on the scale. He like had 1 foot off the scale, you know, whatever. Still bullshit, he missed weight, but whatever. And then he had his fight Francis Marshall, which he lost completely back in March. And then he had a forgettable fight no one remembers with Sadiq Youssef. And now he's going into a fight with Muhammad Naimov in December. I'll be the controversial take here. I don't think Myron's that good. I truly don't. Again, he lost to Francis Marshall. His other 2 wins are Youssef and Alfie, who are terrible. He probably will beat Naimov because he's terrible. Like, I don't think Myron's good at all. I truly don't. I think he's completely overrated. I think he's more than doomed to get fraud checked, like he already has when he fought Marshall, but even more than that, he has no chance again. If he's going to stay at featherweight, he has 0 chance against any of the top 30 guys in the division. I'll take your dear Del Valle to beat him. David Onama might beat him. I'll take Julian Rosta to beat him. I just don't think Myron is that good. And I think he's made one of the most overrated TuF winners of all time. He's nothing special. And yeah, maybe that's controversial. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Big reason I do this, maybe I'll be proven wrong. I doubt it. I think he's fucking terrible. I think he's doomed to be frauded in the near future more than he already has been. And yeah, I don't think he's some great prospect. I think he is a can crusher who couldn't even crush Francis Marshall, and is going to get exposed sooner than later, hopefully, because he's just not that good. I truly don't think he's anything special. And the legend, I think he's far from. Prove me wrong, but I doubt he will. If Francis Marshall can beat you, I think many others will. Then we head to the guy Myron beat in his first fight of the show in the first round, and the final featherweight selected. This one by Team Shevchenko. We had a guy who was very hyped up going into the show, and then wasn't anymore after actually seeing him fight. The final featherweight selected, Edwin Cooper Jr. 6-1 American, 32 years old. He had a lot of hype coming into the show. I remember that. He was like really hyped up. He was going into that fight with Myron. He was probably the favorite. And then he got exposed for just not being that good. I remember, I believe he was just like a one-dimensional wrestler guy. And he was just not very good. And he got exposed, lost, and hasn't fought since. Yeah, he just was kind of a guy he was from Jackson Wink, I guess that really helps. Yeah, I just don't think he was anything that special. He got exposed, because again, he did have a lot of hype, and now he hasn't fought since. He's in his early 30s, and yeah, who knows if he ever fights again, and if he does, it's not going to be anything, he won't be in the UFC, that's for sure, so... Yeah, it's funny to see a year later a guy who had a lot of hype going into that fucking fight with Myron fall off the face of the earth after the show and be gone, so crazy how shit plays out, isn't it? There's Edwin Cooper for you, the final featherweight selected, maybe for a good reason. Then we get to the final two picks, being the middleweights, beginning with the last pick for Team Grasso. At middleweight, where is he? Thomas, where is this motherfucker? There he is. We have Tom Theocharis, I think that's how you say it. 10-5 from Canada, the last pick for Team Grasso, 32 years old. Obviously he fought Ryan Loder in round 1 and lost, no shocker. And yeah, we really didn't get to see a lot from him here because he got on the show because he got finished in less than 80 seconds by Loder, who probably just took him down and threw him on the ground and beat him. So yeah, can't really take much out of this from Tom. I don't love getting seeing someone get smashed by fucking Ryan Loder in fucking 80 seconds. That's a bad look in its own right, but whatever. Bad luck, I guess. And then since then he's won one fight back in November of last year, and whatever the fuck MPX is, that's shady. And then he's booked for a fight this weekend, or next week, whatever, against a 41-year-old guy. Oh, for fuck's sake, this is pathetic. Yeah, what a joke. This guy sucks. Fighting a 41-year-old 8-3 guy. What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, I see why Ryan Loder smashed this dude if he sucks. Next, Canada. Just stick to fucking Julian Robertson. You're never gonna have anything good. It isn't. I swear to God. What a joke. And then finally, we have the Mr. Irrelevant of the draft, the final fighter selected and this one going to Team Shevchenko, the Mr. Irrelevant of the season. At middleweight, the final fighter picked, Giannis Bachar. Not Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he would probably do better in MMA than this guy. 9-3 from Greece, 35 years old. He obviously got starched out very quickly in his first round matchup with Robert Valentin. I remember on the episode following that he was all pissed off, trying to fight Robert again or some shit in the house. Not a great look. And then looking back a year later, he had one fight in PFL where he quit after round 2, and he hasn't fought since. Good job, you fucking idiot. Yeah, this dude's a joke. He was the last fighter selected for a reason. He's awful. Robert Valentin starts you out in 20 seconds in the highlight of the season, and then you get beaten in PFL by a 10-2-1 random guy who... It's probably not good, I would imagine. Did this dude go on to do anything after this? No, he lost to Logan Story. Again, point proven there. Yeah, Giannis is terrible. Yeah, last pick for a reason, Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. Yeah, he sucks. Simple. So there was the fighters. Yeah, I know I called most of them ass, but again, if you look at everyone drafted, who was not ass? Even if I was being nice and I was not using my opinion, the only fighter you can actually call good is Myron, if you want to think that. And I don't think he's good, so I don't think anyone on this episode this season was good. There's guys who could maybe make another attempt at being decent, like Magomedov or maybe Omran. I don't know what the fuck he's up to. Aside that, everyone else is fucking terrible. So I don't know what else you want me to say. Yeah, I know it's kind of just called a bunch of fighters shit for 40 minutes, but it's the truth. What else am I meant to say? Now to do the second part, and that is something we couldn't do when we recapped this because it wasn't up yet when we talked about season 33. When we do a retrospective a year from now on that, then we'll look at those. But we can do it here, so let's look at each fight. Let's recap the fights as much as I can remember them, and see how all we just talked about all of them, all the fighters. Now let's take a look at how the fight actually played out. You know, I talked about most of them. Take one more quick look at them. We began with the first fight of the season between two of the most notable guys of the season, funny enough, with Con Offley versus Nathan Fletcher. Yeah, Con kind of just dominated him, if I remember, in the wrestling. Not a very exciting fight. I'm not shocked because both guys are fucking terrible. And again, looking back, somehow that fight was two of the more well-known guys after this season, but they're both terrible. Khan got the win, where he was probably the underdog going into it if there were odds for the fight. And yeah, boring. But then we got the probably highlight of the season in the second fight of the season, the first middleweight fight of the season, beginning with Robert Valentin versus Giannis Bachar. Not really much to recap here. Robert knocked Giannis out in about 20 seconds, and it was not a punch. I swear to God, it was an elbow. Maybe I'm wrong. Kind of the same thing Nascimento hit Durden with on Saturday, but it was more to the side of the head that dropped him, and then he jumped on him. From what I remember, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I remember. And yeah, this was probably the highlight of the season. Best knockout of the season, maybe the only knockout of the season, and this gave us a lot of false hope for Valentin. Too bad it was again false hope, and yeah, not very good. Then we had the second featherweight fight between Rody Rhodes and Julimero Torres. Shit fight. Rhodes won, obviously, because Torres is 40. Almost, and yeah, nice win for Rhodes. Not, I guess they both suck. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember more than maybe one or two tiny things about that fight. It was ass. Next. Then, I don't know why they put it up in sections like this, but whatever. Then we had the fourth fight of the season. This actually might not be the order they happened in, to be honest. I'm not sure. Do they got that? I guess necessarily. Yeah, I guess we could look at it this way. I guess it would be a little bit better. So, cause I don't think this is the order they happened in at all. So we'll do this way. Talk about this one and this one. Then we had in the featherweights, Zigamontis, Ramaska, and Bekzad Usmanov. Probably the best fight overall of the season. Banger. Ramaska beat him up over 2 rounds in a very fun fight. Like I said, Usmanov is a little tank and was able to take a lot of damage. Ramaska did take his own damage. Obviously, he fractured his face, and that's why he did get in Fletcher fight, etc., etc. But yeah, probably the best fight overall of the season. Very fun, and yeah, Usmanov's a little tank, and Ramaska looked good there. But it was I guess clear that should put another false sense of security or hype on Ramasco if you really think about it. So, fun fight, but yeah, definitely not who Ramasco really is, because he's not that good. Uzmanov, fun. Terminator, not much else to say. And then we had the last fight of the first round of the featherweights, and that was Myron Santos and Edwin Cooper, which we already talked about. Edwin had a lot of hype going into it, but Myron beat him in a close but clear win after a sudden death round. The fine fight, I remember it a little bit, not anything special. Myron was just a better fighter and got the win. Good for him, and yeah, not really much else to say there. And then we'll go to round one of the middleweights. We already talked about Valentin. Well, I guess we'll go from here up. Then to see who fought Valentin in the semifinals, we had Paddy McCrory and Mark Hummel, which we talked about. Paddy finished him pretty quickly. How quick did he finish him again? Round one, guillotine choke. I don't remember much from that fight, to be honest. So good for Paddy, and that's another fight that kind of gave us a false sense of hype for Paddy, because he looked pretty decent, but then it got exposed. He's not very good. Mark really ain't good, clearly, if he got beat that easily, and yeah, fine, not great. At least it wasn't another fucking decision, which was every featherweight fight go to decision. There was only one finish of the whole bracket, not counting the finale. And then there was only one decision on the whole middleweight bracket. Crazy. And only one of them was a knockout. Fucking Christ. Right. And then to go to the other side of the bracket, we had Ryan Loder and Tom Soroshas, which I already talked about. Loder finished in, 80 seconds or whatever. Simple, easy win. Not much to it. I don't remember it much, to be honest. And then we had the final fight, round one, between Omran Shaban and Shamidkhan Magomedov. I talked about this plenty, about Magomedov. Got fraud checked, and when he was really hyped up going into it, gassed out, got finished. Not very good, and good win for Omran. Good fraud checking there. And yeah, probably the most hyped up guy going into the show just off name alone. Proven to be pretty shit, and took the L. Not really much else to say. Then to get to the semi-final brackets, I don't know if we began, but it's the order we're going in. We had Rody Rhodes lose to Con Offley in a fight I remember very well, because Rody fought so bad. He fucking gave up his neck. He shot immediately, which I don't think they want him to do. Gave up his neck immediately and got submitted. Dumbass. I remember Valentina was pissed. I remember watching it, thinking, what was he doing? And, yeah, he's a fucking idiot, so good for him. You made it to the semifinals just to lose in the most embarrassing way possible. Good job. And then in the other fight, to see who meets Khan in the finale, we had Myron Santos and Guillermo Torres. Obviously, we talked about why Torres is there again, because Ramasco got injured in his first round matchup. Obviously, Santos just beat the shit out of Torres with ease over 3 rounds. So some semifinals are 3 rounds and not 2, so it was not a sudden death round. Myron just beat him up for 3 rounds and got the win. Probably should have got a finish there, but whatever. And, yeah, not competitive at all, not close at all. Yeah, simple. And then for the middleweights, we had in the first semifinal, Ryan Loder, Cuddle, Omran, Shaban. I already talked about this a little bit, talking about Omran and Loder in their own right. Boring, barely remember it. Loder cuddled him for 3 rounds. Next, and then in my most hyped fight of the semifinals out of the 4 when they were announced, we had Robert Valentin versus Paddy McCrory. I had a lot of hype for this fight for it to not go very long. I don't remember a lot from it. There's a little bit of striking, but I think it was mainly grappling match, and then eventually in that grappling match, Valentin locked up a nice armbar and won. Good for him. Nice win. That really sent the hype going into the finale up to another notch. And, yeah, that was a good way. I think that, no, Loader was the last fight of the season. That was a good first semifinal for the middleweights, and that's cool. Good. So, and that's how we got to our finales, which were, let me bring them up. I guess I can look at them here. Myron Santos versus Con Offley, and Ryan Loader versus Robert Valentin. And then I think we all know what happened in those fights. We had, well, obviously we had Myron knock out Khan, like I talked about. He probably missed weight for the fight, but Khan's shit got knocked out. Cool, whatever. And then we had one belt, one torn white. Why does not? So he got a belt, he didn't, whatever. And then Loader just cuddled Valentin to death for a round and a half almost. Valentin almost got a submission. I think it was a rear naked choke or an armbar, something along those lines. But that's the closest amount of offense he had in that fight. And yeah, Loader cuddled him to death to get the win. And gave us our two finale champions, Myron Santos and Ryan Loader. And yeah, that was about that for season 32. And I guess you want to look at this because it does have some relevance to it. What happened in the fight between the coaches, which I believe, was that Noche? It had to have been the Noche fight, right? Or the Sphere fight. Unless August 24th, September. Yeah, so it would have been this, the trilogy fight between Alexa and Valentina. We know what happened there. Grasso did not get the win at all, though she won on TuF. She did better on TuF, but yeah, in the fight she did not do very good. And yeah, not a very great coach's fight there. And there you go. So yeah, that was about that for a recap of what happened. I guess you want to go some other post-mortem shit, or whatever term you want to put for this. The best draft pick looking back, Myron and Loader, obviously, at 7th and 6th. So the worst one, take your pick. Probably Torres and Rhodes, that in their first two picks. Very bad there. But most of these fighters were shit. Like, truly, I think. Not even trying to be funny. Shit. We're gonna see how shit he is this week. Maybe can bounce back, but on the show he was shit. Good. I know he's coming off a win. He's still not good. Shit. Not great, pretty bad. Shit. A boxer. Shit. Well, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure. Shit. I think overrated. Disappeared after the show. Shit. So, what? 1, 2, 4 fighters I can be a little nice to. We'll say 5, because who knows, Omron. That's terrible. And if you ask me, do you think any of these guys can come back and make a noise? Magomedov, maybe. Omron, maybe, depending on how old he is. Everyone else is either in the UFC already and gonna get cut soon, or Myron, who I don't think is gonna do anything. So I think this is gonna be definitely one of the most forgettable TuF seasons of all time. The only highlight was the Valentin knockout. If you want to rewatch anything from this season, I'd probably just say the Valentin knockout. Go find that clip. Outside of that, the only other fight that was any bit decent was Ramoska and Usmanov, and even that was not anything great. I think it fucking is as good as Alex Ardoyan and Montserrat Ruiz. So it was just a bad season. Bad fight, bad fighters. One coach was bad, the other cared. I'll talk about that in a minute. It was just not a great season, and we didn't, looking back a year later, whatever we really got out of it. Myron, who I don't think that's good, a shitty run of fights for Valentin and Count Offley, a shitty Nathan Fletcher run that flamed out, Ryan Loader, one of the worst TuF winners of all time. Yeah, this season's not gonna be looked back on fondly at all, and it is what it is. It's what TuF is at this point. I think this year's season was 1,000 times better, fighter-wise, entertainment-wise, fights-wise, everything. I think this season was way better, and I think the last season, the Connor season, was probably a bit better. Like, this season was just bad, and I don't know what else to really say. So, the only other thing I will talk about is the coaches, Valentina and Alexa. I think Ross was a good coach. I think she did actually care and try pretty hard to be a good coach. I'm not one of the best of all time, but I'm a good coach. Definitely the team you don't want to be on. Hell, you get to learn from one of the greatest maybe the one of the greatest female strikers of all time. Can't complain about that. What else can you say? I do think she was a bit biased for countrymen like Torres, but other than that, I think she was a good coach. Valentina was not at all. Most famously, she was like, no water during practice. It's like, what the fuck? Like, no, bro, we need water. So, she was just not really a great coach. I don't think she was like, I think she, having bad fighters and then just not really being a great coach did not mix well, and I'm not going to say Valentina is one of the worst coaches of all time. There's been much, much worse. But, yeah. Conor McGregor, anybody. But yeah, she was just not a great coach, especially compared to Alexa. You know what team you'd rather be on, and yeah, just not really much else to say there. Both got bad hands in terms of the fighters they had to pick from, but Grasso tried her best, Valentina did not, and yeah. Still don't know why the UFC thought 2 fighters with broken English would be a good season, but you know, good on them, and no real conflict between them, because Grasso is super nice and Valentina's not in the mood for that shit. So entertainment wise, bad coaches. Actual coaching wise, one was good, one was not. What else can I really say? That was TuF 32. So, yeah, that's about that. 1 year later, not really much great to say about TuF 32. It happened. We got really nothing out of it a year later. No memorable moments, no great fights, no great fighters. One of the worst TuF seasons of all time, I'd have to imagine. I've not went back and watched those middle ones yet. I will. But, yeah, I think this one has to rank pretty low, I would have to imagine, in terms of the fights, fighters, entertainment. It was not good, a year later, and I would say maybe some fighters can prove me wrong. That's why I do these retrospectives. But I feel when you will if you watch this video a year, 2, 3 from now, mostly everything's gonna be the same. We'll see how Myron's career goes. Everyone else will be long gone and have done nothing. And, yeah, so not a great season. This year's was much better. And, yeah, I still enjoyed doing this video and talking about the season again, looking back a year later. But, yeah, it was just not very good at all. And, there you go. Not really a whole lot left to say. I highly doubt anyone that's gonna watch this video, or let alone this long, but I enjoyed doing it. I thought this was a fun idea, and recording it was fun. Hopefully it's fun to watch. And I get to call fighters shit for an hour. I love it. And yeah, that's really about all I gotta say about TuF 32. Well, to rate the season, whenever, I would say like a 3.5 out of 10. Not very good, but probably the worst season we've got since the comeback, since the Volk Ortega season when they came back a couple years ago. And yeah, just not very good. So not very much else to say. That's the retrospective for TuF 32. And let's see how this ages. We'll see how Myron's career turns out. Everything else I feel like I'm going to be very accurate on. And yeah, that's about that. Not really much else to say. Trying to think anything else I want to add before we get out of here. Only an hour compared to my other videos lately. It's nice not to be going an hour and 50 minutes. That'll be the breakdown and recap for the card Saturday. But yeah, not really much else I can think to add. So I guess we can end this bitch by saying what we always say, and that is, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, turn subs to go by the end of 2025. Next time you'll hear from me in video form will be the breakdown for UFC Vegas 111 this week, and then the recap on Sunday. So Friday and Sunday as always, stream-wise, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and shorts whenever I fucking do them. So there you go. That's the schedule for the rest of the week. I'm happy y'all are enjoying these retrospectives, or so far enjoying them, and I'll keep doing them. Next week, more than likely we'll do the Season 1 Contender Series retrospective, because I think that sounds like a fun idea. I know it's been done before, but I would like to do it. And, yeah, sounds fun. Not really much else to say. That'll be next week. For this week, hope you enjoyed the TuF 32 retrospective 1 year later. And as always, unless I'm going to say something which I don't believe I am, as always, RX out. Good vibes. Only. And always.